The midnight premiere of The Dark Knight Rises should have been a celebration, a night of shared excitement for Batman fans. It was a highly anticipated event, with fans eagerly lining up to see their favorite superhero on the big screen. Instead, July 20th, 2012, became a night seared into America's memory for the horror that unfolded inside the Century 16 Theater in Aurora, Colorado. What was meant to be a joyous occasion turned into a nightmare. As the film played, a lone gunman, shrouded in tactical gear, unleashed a barrage of bullets into the unsuspecting audience. The chaos that ensued was unimaginable, with people ducking for cover and trying to make sense of the madness. The attack lasted minutes, an eternity for those trapped inside the theater. Each second felt like a lifetime as they waited for the nightmare to end. Screams pierced the darkness as terrified moviegoers scrambled for exits, desperate to escape the hail of gunfire. The sheer panic and confusion made it difficult for many to find their way out. When the smoke cleared, 12 innocent lives were lost, and 70 others bore the physical and emotional scars of that horrific night. The community was left in shock and mourning. The gunman, quickly apprehended outside the theater, was identified as 24-year-old James Holmes, a former neuroscience graduate student. His arrest brought some relief, but many questions remained. The massacre at the Aurora Theater, a senseless act of violence, sent shockwaves across the nation and ignited a firestorm of debate about gun control, mental health, and the dark undercurrents of American society. People demanded answers and change. The events of that night left an indelible mark on the Aurora community and the nation, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the ever-present threat of violence. Vigils and memorials were held to honor the victims. The question that echoed in the aftermath was, why? Why did this happen, and how could it have been prevented? What drove a seemingly bright young man to commit such a horrific act? The search for answers continues as the community and the nation strive to heal and understand. James Egan Holmes was born on December 13, 1987 in San Diego, California, into a seemingly ordinary middle-class family. Outwardly, his childhood appeared unremarkable. He excelled academically, displaying a particular aptitude for science and mathematics. Neighbors and classmates described him as quiet and introverted, but not particularly troubled or unusual. He was a gifted student, graduating with honors from Westview High School in 2006. His academic prowess earned him a scholarship to the University of California, Riverside, where he pursued a degree in neuroscience. However, beneath the surface of academic achievement, there were hints of a darker side. Some who knew Holmes described him as increasingly withdrawn and isolated during his college years. He struggled socially, finding it difficult to connect with his peers. By his senior year, Holmes's mental state seemed to be deteriorating. He experienced panic attacks and sought psychiatric help. Despite these warning signs, he graduated with honors in 2010 and was accepted into the competitive neuroscience PhD program at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus. It was during this period of his life, as he grappled with the demands of a rigorous academic program and the unraveling of his mental health, that James Holmes's path took a sinister turn. The move to Colorado marked a turning point in James Holmes's life. The pressures of his PhD program, coupled with his increasing social isolation, seemed to exacerbate his existing mental health issues. He began to exhibit more erratic behavior, withdrawing further from his classmates and professors. During this period, Holmes sought help from a university psychiatrist, Dr. Lynn Fenton. He was prescribed various antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, intended to alleviate his symptoms and stabilize his mood. However, there are conflicting accounts regarding the effectiveness of these medications and their potential role in his downward spiral. Some experts have suggested that certain antidepressants can, in rare cases, trigger manic episodes or increase suicidal thoughts, especially in individuals with pre-existing mental health conditions. Whether these medications played a role in Holmes's case remains a subject of debate. What is clear is that Holmes's mental state continued to deteriorate in the months leading up to the shooting. He began to keep a detailed notebook, chronicling his thoughts and plans for the attack. He also began amassing an arsenal of weapons and ammunition, meticulously planning the logistics of his deadly rampage. The once promising student was transforming into something much darker, driven by a twisted ideology and consumed by his own inner demons. Section 4. Chaos in the Theater, a blow-by-blow account. The air inside Theater 9 of the Century 16 was thick with anticipation as the opening scenes of The Dark Knight Rises flickered to life. The audience, a mix of die-hard fans and casual moviegoers, settled into their seats, popcorn in hand, ready for an evening of entertainment. Moviegoers, many in costume, were engrossed in the film, unaware that a nightmare was about to unfold. The excitement in the room was palpable, with whispers and laughter filling the air. Shortly after midnight, a figure dressed in black tactical gear, wearing a gas mask and ballistic helmet, entered the theater through an emergency exit. His entrance went unnoticed at first, blending into the shadows of the dimly lit room. He tossed 2 tear gas canisters into the crowd, engulfing the auditorium in a blinding fog. The acrid smoke quickly filled the room, causing confusion and panic among the unsuspecting audience. Chaos erupted as panicked moviegoers struggled to breathe and see. Then, the shooting began. The once joyous atmosphere turned into a scene of sheer terror as people scrambled for the exits. Armed with an AR-15 rifle, a shotgun, and a .40 caliber handgun, James Holmes opened fire indiscriminately on the trapped audience. His arsenal was meticulously chosen for maximum devastation. The sound of gunfire echoed through the theater, punctuated by screams of terror and the sickening thud of bodies hitting the floor. The relentless barrage of bullets created a cacophony of horror. For an excruciating 20 minutes, the massacre continued. Each second felt like an eternity for those trapped inside, their lives hanging by a thread. Holmes moved methodically through the theater, reloading his weapons and firing relentlessly into the helpless crowd. His cold, calculated actions left no corner of the room untouched. Some moviegoers played dead, desperately hoping to avoid being shot. Their only hope was to remain as still and silent as possible amidst the chaos. Others shielded their loved ones with their bodies, making the ultimate sacrifice. Acts of bravery and love shone through the darkness of that night. When the gunfire finally ceased, the theater was a scene of unimaginable carnage. Overturned seats, shattered glass, and lifeless bodies painted a grim picture of the night's events. The air was heavy with the stench of gunpowder and blood. The once vibrant theater was now a war zone, filled with the echoes of the recent horror. Empty bullet casings littered the floor amid spilled popcorn and discarded 3D glasses. The remnants of a night meant for joy now lay in ruins. As police sirens wailed in the distance, the enormity of the tragedy began to sink in. First responders rushed to the scene, their lights cutting through the darkness. 12 lives were extinguished that night, and countless others were forever scarred by the horrors they had witnessed. The community would come together in the days that followed, seeking solace and strength in each other. The Aurora theater shooting would forever be etched in the annals of American history as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the human heart. It stands as a testament to the fragility of life and the resilience of the human spirit. Section 5. The Trial and Sentencing, Justice Served or Miscarriage. The trial of James Holmes began in April 2015, nearly 3 years after the Aurora theater shooting. The anticipation and tension surrounding the trial were palpable, as the public and media eagerly awaited the proceedings. It was one of the most closely watched trials in recent history, captivating the nation and reigniting the debate over mental illness, gun control, and the death penalty. The trial was broadcasted on national television, drawing millions of viewers who were keen to see justice unfold. The prosecution painted Holmes as a cold-blooded killer who meticulously planned the attack, driven by a desire for notoriety. They argued that his actions were calculated and deliberate, leaving no room for doubt about his intentions. They presented overwhelming evidence of his premeditation, including his detailed notebook, online purchases of weapons and ammunition, and surveillance footage of him casing the theater. The evidence was meticulously laid out to build a compelling case against Holmes. The defense, however, argued that Holmes was legally insane at the time of the shooting, suffering from severe schizophrenia that rendered him incapable of distinguishing right from wrong. They contended that his mental state was so compromised that he could not be held fully accountable for his actions. They called numerous mental health experts to the stand, who testified to Holmes's history of mental illness and the severity of his delusions. These experts provided detailed accounts of his psychological condition, aiming to shed light on his disturbed mind. The jury ultimately rejected the insanity defense, finding Holmes guilty on all 165 counts against him, including 24 counts of first-degree murder. The decision was a significant moment in the trial, reflecting the jury's belief in Holmes's culpability. During the sentencing phase, the jury spared Holmes from the death penalty, instead sentencing him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This decision sparked a wide range of emotions and discussions about the appropriateness of the punishment. The verdict and sentence were met with mixed reactions. Some felt justice had been served, while others believed the punishment was too lenient given the gravity of the crime. Some praised the justice system for holding Holmes accountable for his actions, while others expressed disappointment that he would not face the ultimate punishment. The public debate highlighted the deep divisions in opinions on justice and retribution. The trial of James Holmes served as a stark reminder of the complexities of mental illness and the challenges of balancing justice with compassion. It underscored the ongoing struggle to navigate the intersection of law, morality, and mental health in the pursuit of justice.